We're going to be waiting a few minutes until Rabbi Galimidi will arrive. So I'm taking over in mamash few minutes. So we're dedicating those minutes and the whole shiur Leilun Nishma Devorah Fege Bat Shemuel and for Refuah Shlema Ora Devorah Bat Rivka among all Cholei Am Yisrael. Yesterday was Yom HaShoah, correct? And you know that things are happening in our life, and we're passing the days, and we're getting into all type of events. If it is Yom HaShoah, we're going to get to Yom HaAtzmaut, we're going to get to all different special moments in the year. And the question is, what are we taking from those moments? Not only if we pass throughout the moment, but what are we taking from those moments? I said over a few weeks ago, a very quick story about a guy that have pain in his throat, right? So he went to the doctor and he asked the doctor, please check me. The doctor told him, listen, you have to take a special type of candy, special candy, it's going to help you out. Okay? Give me the name. He went with the name to the pharmacy. He went and he bought it. After a week, comes back to the doctor, barely can talk. The thing became much worse. And the doctor asked him how it's possible. Did you took whatever I told you? He said, doctor, yes, I promise. I went to the pharmacy and I bought it and I took it. How many times? Twice a day, like you told me, doctor. It's weird. It wasn't supposed to be like that. And he's checking and he's asking him questions until the doctor realized the big mistake. He told him, tell me something. How did you took how did you took it? He says, what do you mean how? You took a cup of water, you put the candy and you drink it. He says, tipesh. The candy is supposed to suck it, right? Say that's exactly the point. What are we doing with all the events of the year? Are we just swallowing it or are we sucking it? Are we taking something to ourselves and we are able to change throughout those events that are happening on the year or not? So let me tell you, I get this Yom HaShoah, I got a lot of messages, that to reinforce ourselves. Just before I tell you one of the messages, I want to tell you a beautiful story that I heard. Okay. Beautiful story that I heard about a guy that says he got saved from the Holocaust in a very unique way. His family were very successful family in Germany. Very successful family. I think it was Germany or one of those countries. They had a lot of money. But when the father of the family started to realize that all of the economy is going down because of the war, he decided that he's going to move to Holland, to Netherlands, right? Now in Holland, the money, the coin that they used to, was a different coin. So he decided to take all his goods, and to exchange it for the coin of the Holland. He changed the whole thing and they traveled to Holland. He says the terrible mazal that they had was that once they got to Holland, the first day that they got to Holland, because of all the war and all the politics, the value of the money of Holland dropped so badly that it was nothing. He said, in one day, I lost all my goods. Everything. And I got to Holland, no money. Right? What I'm going to do? He started to try to look for a job. No one wanted to hire him. Rabotai, he found himself the only way, is to go to Eretz Israel and to try over there. And he went with his family, they went to Israel, and that's it. He says, only years later, I understood why God did this to me. Only years later, when I realized what happened really throughout the war, how the Nazis entered to Holland and they sent all the Jews to death. And I was supposed to be there together with all this group. I appreciated Borei Olam that he made such a chesed with me, to take away all my belongings and all my money. Rabotai, how many times happen in our life? We complain. We love to complain. Why is this happening to me? Why this guy is making me the life impossible? Why am I having this and that problem? But we only see a small part of the picture. And if we will have more patience, we will be able to see how Borei Olam, all what He does, is for our own benefit and for our good. So yesterday, I brought the famous Midrash. The Midrash writes, by the way, do you know that the last year of the Holocaust, the Germans, Yimach Shemam, they killed up 10% of the 6 million Jews in 1 year. 10% or more of all those 6 million Jews. They knew that they were about to lose the war, right? So Hitler and Yimach said, at least I will not lose my side of the war, right, to erase the Jewish nation. There was a guy that asked the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Lau. He says, Rabbi, I have a question. I also got survived from the Holocaust. I lost my family. I believe on God. But where was God in the Holocaust? How He let them, kill us like that without even... And Rabbi Lau answered him in such a beautiful, beautiful way. He gave him two answers. And he says like this. He says, there was a guy by name Yov. You heard about this man? Yov, the Navi writes, Yov had a lot of money. And he had a lot of kids. And he was very beloved. And he was a great tzaddik in the eyes of God. Until one day the Satan appears to God and he tells him, God, how is Yov by you? Good guy? He says, of course, tzaddik. He says, God, I promise you that if you will give me permission, I will take all what he have. He will go against you and he will curse you. Say the Navi that Borei Olam said to the Satan, no problem. You can touch Yov, all what he have, besides his body. Don't touch his body. Don't kill him. And the Navi writes that in one day, Yov lost all his kids. All his kids. All his 7 kids. He lost all his money, all his belongings. He lost all what he had. And not only that, he got a tzara, the type of disease, skin disease, that the only way to cure it was to bury himself inside the ground and to cover till the head, till the neck. Now I want you to try to imagine this guy. And says the Navi that Yov complained or he didn't complain. His wife came up to Yov and he tells him, Yov, you being such a tzaddik, that's the punishment that you're getting? Barech Elokim vamut. Curse God and died. What do you need God for? Look what He's doing to you. That's how He's paying you back. And what is Yov saying? Hashem natan, Hashem lakach. Hashem mevorach me'ata ve'ad olam. Borei Olam gave, Borei Olam is thanking. But the name of Hashem will be always blessed. Yeshem Hashem mevorach me'ata ve'ad olam. Rabotai, the end of the story of Yov, Borei Olam gave him double all what he lost. But one thing, says Rav Lau. God goes to Yov and He tells him, Yov. Thank you, my friend. Yov, can you tell me, do you want to know why I did this to you? You want to understand me, right? You want to know why I'm doing this, all this suffering to you. How you want to understand me if you can barely understand about the creation and about the things that you see? You can understand how it works. Today, do we understand how the world is managed? In the physical world. No. So you want to understand how in the spiritual world, you want to understand godliness? The Ramban writes, if I will understand God, I will be God. It's impossible to understand Him because we're limited. Say Rabbi aloud to this guy, you're asking me why God did it? I'm telling you, and you want to understand God? It's impossible. But I want to tell you one more thing, say Rabbi aloud to this fellow. The Nazis, Imach Shemam Vezichram, they didn't just want to erase us physically. They first started to erase our Judaism. The famous night when the whole entire war started was the night of Kristallnacht, the night of the broken glasses. What was the whole night? What was the attack on the Jewish communities? Shuls, Sefer Torah being burned, Tefillin, books, mezuzot, whatever have to do with Judaism. The Nazis not only looked to kill us physically, they wanted to take us away from our Judaism. Say Rav Lau, we were able to pass this disaster of the Holocaust. And Am Yisrael Chai v'Kayam, but the question is, are you really giving victory to Am Yisrael? Or are you giving victory to the Nazis? Keeping Torah and mitzvot, not keeping Shabbat, being intermarriage, not keeping kosher. What are we trying to say over here? We're trying to give Hazak Ubaruch to the Nazis and to tell them, you know what? You got it. You win the war. But Rabotai, when we reinforce ourselves, we're showing to those Nazis, we can stand strongly and to say, you wanted to destroy us, Am Yisrael Chai v'Kayam. Rabotai, what are we taking from this day of Yom HaShoah? Reinforce ourselves. Let's get connected again to our Judaism. Let's try, it's a terrible, what's going on every single year here in the United States. How many young guys are getting married to Goyim and Goyot? Intermarriage in the U.S. is terrible. It's touching to the 50%. 70%. What are we doing? There is two ways. Or to say, how bad it is, and then continue your life. Or to decide to do something about it. What? You have grandkids, you have kids, you have people that you know. Try to do stuff. Try to bring back Am Yisrael together. Whenever we will reconnect to our sources, to our Judaism, then en kol umma velashon, say Chachamim, there is no one nation and one language that can control us. And how the Gemara writes down, כשהכל כל יעקב, אין הידיים ידי עשיו. אין הכל כל יעקב, הידיים ידי עשיו. Meaning when Am Yisrael are connected to the call, what is the call? The voice. Which voice of Yaakov? אלה ברכב, אלה בסוסים, ואנחנו בשם השם אלוקינו נזכיר. Our power is not in our hands. Our power is not Tzahal. Even though they're doing a great job. That's not our power. ואנחנו בשם השם אלוקינו נזכיר. So says the Gemara, when Am Yisrael are being connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, automatically there is no power for Esav and for all those nations to touch us. I just want to close up. There is an amazing story that I heard. To understand what it was, the level of the Jews at the time of the Holocaust. You have no idea how difference there is in between our generation and the generation of the Holocaust. And I'm talking about the Jews that were keeping Torah and mitzvot. I want to tell you, yes, and I'm saying Dafka Torah and mitzvot because unfortunately, before the war, do you know that all those synagogues that were destroyed and burned the night of the Kristallnacht, over 85% of those synagogues were reforms? When the reforms, back then, they announced it to take the Sidurim and to erase every single time that the word Yerushalayim appears and to write Berlin. Every time that Israel, Zion appears, to erase it and to write Germania. The reforms, they wanted to erase the whole concept of Judaism, and until today they're trying to do it, but they wanted to erase the whole entire concept of Judaism because there is no difference in between the Jew and the non-Jew. In between the Jew and the German, we're all the same. That was the whole movement. And it's amazing. More they try to connect with them, more they hate us, and they try to make to us terrible things. So I just want to tell you, but we had the other side. We have the Jews that were keeping Torah and Mitzvot. Just to understand this story, a great rabbi said it over. He said that he survived the Holocaust, terrible things, and he was in terrible concentration camps. Until he survived the whole thing, the Germans already understood that they have to leave that concentration camp to escape. You know what happened? Before they left, they decided to do a march. March of death. And they called up all the Jews, the left, or the Jews that survived in that concentration camp, in the middle of the winter, to walk with those pajamas, kilometers, miles, until they will die. And he said that somehow he survived, but on his way, walking already, he realized that there is another Jew, together with him, very weak Jew. And he realized that this Jew is saying something, moving his lips, talking. He says, Hazid, probably, Mechila. I'm just finishing, Rabbi. I just finished the story.
Continue, so we don't waste time.
So he said that he realized that this Jew is saying something. He's talking something. So he wanted to hear what this guy is saying. So he approached him and he put his ear next to his mouth. And he realized as this Jew, so weak, walking in the middle of the snow, in the middle of the forest, he hears him saying the Gemara in Masechet Ketuvot from the beginning of the Gemara by heart. Whatever he can reach, whatever he can get to. Rabotai, this rabbi said that the Hazid, this poor Jew, died in the middle. And he died in Daf Kavbet Amud Bet, page 22b. He was able to say from the beginning of Masechet Ketuvot till Daf 22 by heart. And he promised to himself, said the rabbi, that I will finish the Masechet until the end of the war, Le'ilu Nishmat, this fellow Jew. Rabotai, to understand, Am Yisrael were ready to give all what they had for Borei Olam, Mesirut Nefesh. So today, we don't need Bar Minan, to do Mesirut Nefesh by giving our life. But it's the opposite. Try to give Mesirut Nefesh living. Try to do an effort for Borei Olam when everything is going well, and then Borei Olam will pay us back, Be'ezat Hashem, with only good things. Amen ve'amen. Chavod.
No commercial break.
No commercial break.
No commercial break. Those who are watching knows who we are. So we're going to move on right away. We did have less than a minute. Keep rolling, keep rolling. Beautiful. You're adjusting my height. Beautiful. Good morning, Rabotai. Erev Shabbat Kodesh. Perasha Ahare Mot. Friday, the 28th day of Nisan, corresponding to the 3rd day of May. We did have a technical inspection in the mikveh that required my personal physical presence. So Baruch Hashem, I'm happy that it was quick and over with an excellent report. And that is a beautiful, beautiful, good things. I don't manage everybody's day, but that's when it happened today. They came at 8 something. I was expecting 10 to 11 after the class. But Baruch Hashem, I'm happy that they came and we got a clean bill of health and an excellent report. Today, it's already, you're into 20 minutes of today's class. Thank you to Rabbi Azankot for covering during my brief absence. and the Lighthouse Torah Project, the iTorah.com sponsorships. We say thank you to the generous sponsors. And today, I'd like to speak short in honor of Yosef HaSaddik and Ishak Avinu. Today, the 13th day of Sefirat HaOmer. Thank you so much. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Shehakol Nihiya V'Tbaro. Today, the 13th day of Sefirat HaOmer, we welcome Yosef HaSaddik and the Middah of Yesod. Yesod is not a new topic. We have been discussing this several times. If it's the time of the Shovavim period or the early week of the Omer, but Yesod literally means foundation. Any building, besides being elegant and cost-effective, it needs to have a strong foundation. And the foundation is a very high cost as part of the construction bill, is a cost that is nothing beautiful about the foundation. You don't invest in decorating the foundation most of the time, especially that the foundation is underneath, not visible on the ground, in a basement perhaps the way it is up north. But we all know very, very, very well that if the foundation is not strong, the building cannot survive. Our rabbis tell us that this is the middah of Yosef HaSaddik. Yesod, the foundation of holiness of a person. In the men's department, what is the foundation of holiness? Our holy rabbis tell us the milah, the berit milah, the circumcision. In the ladies' department, what is the foundation of holiness? Family purity, going to the mikveh. So between the holy Jewish wives observing the laws of family purity whenever it applies physically, and the men by being careful with their berit milah and not doing things which we discussed at length in the beginning of Sefer Shemot, the concept of personal holiness. Today, Yosef and Ishak, which is Gevurah, they make a magnificent tag team. Why? Because Gevurah, in a sense, which means the strength that the person has to exercise or activate self-control and restrain, one of the most difficult areas to activate this element is through the topic of personal holiness. You know, some people may say, I'm only looking, I'm not touching. I don't want to be in that person's shoes. I don't want to be in that person's shoes. And I tell you what happened to me the other day. You know, I got a package, and the package came wrapped with wrapping paper. But not wrapping paper, like stuff. You know, sometimes they ship you boxes and they put paper inside so the item doesn't shift, doesn't shake, correct? Thank you so much. That's a proper word. So the package doesn't shake. So in one of the pages, it was something inappropriate. Nothing extreme, but for a Torah Jew, you know, pasnished, as they say. It's not what we are looking for. And I asked myself, I says, Ribono shel Olam, we try to be as careful as we can. And now we get this type of package that comes, yani, from the left field. You don't allow certain things coming to your home. So our message of Yosef HaSaddik's aspect of Yesod is to reactivate the zechut of Yosef HaSaddik's survival. We discussed this topic in Sefer Bereshit when the Torah describes to us the many challenges that Yosef HaSaddik needed to overcome. If it's being alone, if it's without a support system, surrounded by goyim, put into jail, working in a minister palace, and the wife of this infamous minister, Potiphar, makes advances to Yosef HaSaddik. how did Yosef was able to survive? It's not easy. It's not easy. But you know how was he able to survive? With the midah of today. Yesod Sheva Gevura. The restraint and the self-control is not only in what we eat. It's not only in what we speak, of how we speak, but it's also what we look at. That's the whole idea of Shemirat HaBerit, Shemirat HaAinayim, Tikkun HaBerit, Pegam HaBerit, all these words that they all mean the same. The idea of a man aiming for personal holiness. Is it easy? Of course not. Do we have challenges? We all have. You remember the story I told you a while back? One day, we were leaving the house to come to the synagogue with our dear president, and as we walk out of the gate, he tells me, Rabbi, don't look to the left because the Yetzer Hara is coming. I said, okay. So I look to the right, and I say to him, don't look to the right because the Yetzer Hara is also coming. So what do? We look down. What is on the floor? And not kosher magazine. When the Yetzer Hara, he doesn't like to lose customers. And our holy rabbis tell us that when a person is experiencing an unexpected nisayon, and the person closes their eyes or looks away from that temptation, that is a great moment to pray. Because you could have said, I didn't say, Ashgaha Peratit. God forbid, divine providence. You know, some people says, oh, God put me, you know, like the fellow that is eating in a non-kosher restaurant. And he sees the rabbi through the window and waves to the rabbi. After he finishes, the rabbi looks at him with a very serious face. And he says, Rabbi, did you see me eating? Yes. Did you see me ordering? Yes. Did you see me sitting down in that restaurant? Yes. So what's the big deal? I did everything under rabbinical supervision. Do you understand? When you're going to be the Hacham of the Man Ishtana, Hacham Hu Omer, this was the greatness of Yosef HaSaddiq, that he knew how to circumvent and survive the Yetzer Hara, which I did touch on this topic on the 7th day of Pesach, which obviously being a Yom Tov, a magnificent Yom Tov, we had the tikkun and the prayer and the reading through the Alot HaShachar, etc. We discuss a very powerful line in the book of Tehillim on the Hallel. And the question is asked, upon whom's the splitting of the Red Sea, upon whom merit, whom zechut was Keriat Yam Suf. Somebody says, Nahshon ben Aminadav. He's the first Jew that jumped. True, he was the first one that jumped. But do you know that in the beginning when Moshe Rabbeinu asks the Yam Suf, we ready to cross, split, the Yam Suf refused? He says, why should I split myself? To save the Jewish people. Why should the Jewish people be deserved of being saved? Halalu abdei abodah zarah, halalu abdei abodah zarah. The Egyptians were involved in idolatry. The Jewish people were involved in idolatry. So what's the difference? Comes David HaMelech and it says, Hayam ra'a vayanos. The ocean, so to speak, saw and retrieved. As the Gemara, Mara'a. Since when the ocean sees? Let's say you go now to the water behind the beautiful synagogue, and you talk to the water, on your wave to the water. What's going to happen? Nothing. The water will wave back to you because you see your reflection, but the water will not answer back to you. No reaction. The water is moving because of the nature that Hashem created, the wind factor. Sometimes the water is very calm. It's like taking a nap. And now it's a bit busy. Today we had heavy rains in the morning, yesterday. So the wind concept definitely influences the movement of the water. But in reality, the Gemara says, Ra'a Arono Shel Yosef. The Yam Suf saw how Moshe Rabbeinu is carrying the coffin of Yosef, and it says, I'm going to do it in honor of Yosef. Not because you deserve, but in the honor of Yosef, I'm going to take a step back. And the question is, how do we know that this is what the Pasuk means? Maybe the Pasuk is telling us that the Pasuk moved. Bayanos, I can give you the Lashon, the word Bayanos. Lashon Nes, which is Nes, it's not Nes, it's Nas. Nas is out. So you know the answer of Nas is Nisayon. The root word of Nisayon, which is a spiritual challenge, is from the word Nas. Ve'elokim nisa et Abraham. Nisayon. Vayanos. Yes, Vayanos means escape. But escape from what? From the Nisayon. From the challenge of Potiphar's wife for for a whole year, 3 times a day, made inappropriate advances, unfortunately, towards Yosef. But it came the day of her final part of the master plan. No one is around. No one is around. And our rabbis tell us that Yosef says, you know what? No one is around. No one is going to bother me. I'm going to do heshbonot. Our holy rabbis ask, what type of heshbonot? Are you talking about a tax return? Are you talking about a bookkeeping, QuickBooks, spreadsheet, and a budget, and a balance? It says no. Heshbon hanefesh. A spiritual accounting, hitbodedut. Why I am here? Why I am alone? Why I'm surrounded by Goyim and not by Yehudim? Why I'm in exile? She took advantage of that moment of Yosef HaSaddik, and she tried. But when the Pasuk tells us that she made the final advance to Yosef, what the Pasuk says, listen to the words. Vayanos vayese hachutza. The Mefarshim says, Vayanos, you escaped, you retrieved from Potiphar. The word says, in your zechut, I'm going to move back. Because you know what it happened with Potiphar's wife? I'm going to illustrate it to you. Don't get too excited. Okay? Relax. I know you're watching. I know you're watching.
That's the first case of
Yes. No, actually, no. There was before, in the case of Dinah and Shechem. Okay? But yes, excellent point. You know what Yosef do? She's grabbing Yosef from here. What does Yosef do? You have to understand, in the olden days, people didn't wear like we wear today, jackets, shirts. He retrieved backwards. He left her hanging with the clothing. And that's what she shows Potiphar. Look at the clothing. And you know what she did? I'll tell you. This is extra bonus. She took egg yolk or egg white and she smeared it in the garment to show Potiphar kema'aseh. In the moment of intimacy with him, she faked a trauma. That's what the Mefarshim say. And says, like this, the Jewish boy did that to me. I said, prove it to me. I don't believe it. Shows him. So then he comes to Yosef. And Yosef says, do this test. Like DNA testing, CSI. Said, do this test. If something happened to the stain, it's egg white. If the stain is buried into the clothing, it's zera, and I'm guilty as charged. Potiphar does the testing. And he realizes that his wife lied to him. In the Midrash, in the Maaseh, the next day. Yeah, the day after. But Potiphar says to Yosef, you are right, but I'm embarrassed of my wife's behavior. So do me a favor, go to jail.
He honored the church.
Yes, sir. You understand now? Now, I know that I went overboard in the story of Yosef, but can you imagine a person facing that kind of challenge? Lo alenu velo alechem. And that's the reason why we pray every day. Al tevieni lideni sayon. This is the foundation of today's class. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet. It's Erev Shabbat Kodesh. Many people now start praying in the early minyan due to the lateness of Shabbat starting. So let's give quickly the 3 power points or the 3 action points. Message. One word. Don't flirt. You know what that means? Yeah. Thank you. Whatever it means. We have I believe that we have to be watching. This word that I mentioned is not limited to a male or to a female. It's to both of them. That's why when you look in the Sefer Torah, the 10th commandment, it's Lo Tahmod. We read it Lo Tahmod. What does it mean in Hebrew? Lo Tahmod. Do not covet. Do not desire what someone else has. Wife, home, assets, animals, etc. But you know how the Torah writes Lo Tahmod? Without a vav. What's the difference? I'm going to put it in writing so everybody can see it. This is how it's written in the Sefer. No, 1 second. Lo tahmod. We know that in Hebrew, the vowel, the holam o, can be with a dot or could be with a vav. If the Torah writes it with a vav, so I have nothing else to say. Lo tahmod means do not desire. I should not desire what you have. But you know how the Torah writes this word? Without a vav. Meaning to say, I can read lo tehamed. Don't become desirable. That's what the Sha'arei Kedusha writes. Don't become desirable. Sometimes people look at the mirror before they leave their home. And I'm going to talk to the wonderful holy ladies. Remember who you are. Men also, let's clarify. But the Seniaut challenge, we all know very well that in many areas, it's more relevant to a woman, to a lady, than to men. And I repeat, this is not, God forbid, saying that men don't have issues. Men have big issues as well. Many times the man looks. Many times the man makes advances. Many times the man makes a comment. So today's message is that if every one of us, male or female, take a step forward to bond, that's a word, to bond with Yosef Sadiq. In the men's department, how careful we are with our eyes. How careful a lady can be with her dress code. Because many, many times, the limited or short or tight dress code, that causes men to look. Even though you can say he shouldn't look, guess what? We are humans, and if the challenge is in front of us, some may be strong, some may not be. So therefore, today's action plan to bond with Hashem is take a step forward towards Yosef Sadiq. Now, בין אדם לחברו. יסוד. Interesting enough. You know what else is yesod besides personal holiness? Family. Family. That is what the Gemara writes at the end of Masechet Ta'anit. The Gemara brings the famous, beautiful story of Tu Be'av concerning the idea of finding wives. Remember that Gemara? And the beautiful say, look at the beauty. The not so beautiful says, look at the heart, look at the midot. And then the Gemara throws in a word, meyuhasot. What's the meaning of the word meyuhasot? Meyuhasot means those that come from a great background, those that come from a great family. So, as somebody told me the other day, what are you looking for? I asked the person, what are you looking for in a shidduch? Besides the standard, okay? Normal, healthy, good person, midot tovot, derech eretz, etc. Family. Because we all know that a person, like it or not, is directly or indirectly a source of their own family, an offspring of their own family. And that's why many people, they do a lot of research about the family. And when I say about the family, let's clarify, it's not limited to the kashrut of the family. That's a given. Before you start going out, you check the kashrut. Like it happened the other day. Somebody called me up, references. And it wasn't a halachic permissible shidduch for this couple, young couple. I said to him, without doing your homework. I said, Chazak Baruch, photoshopping, right? It makes everybody looks good. Says you need to do your homework. And that's part of the midah of today. It says, Gevura also means structure. That a person has structure in life. But also family as well. As I said to somebody the other day, you are neglecting your family. I'm super nice. Sometimes. But sometimes, I got to put my gloves. And I told this fellow, you are neglecting your family. You are MIA. He asked me, what is that, Miami Airport? I said, no, that's missing in action. I sleep at home every night, he tells me. I ask him, what time do you get at home? Oh, 11 to 12. And what time you leave your home? 6:30. Oh, so you go to a hotel every night. You check in, you check out. What happened family time? What happened time with your wife? What happened time with your kids? No, I work very hard. I says, guess what? You may be working very hard, but don't make the mistakes that many people do. They put work above family. They put work about Irat Shamayim. They put work about being a human being. There is a time to work. There is a time to spend time with the family, like Shabbat. Okay, we all have busy schedules during the week. And I'm included in that statement. Sometimes I'm able to have a dinner early time. Sometimes I have to have dinner very late, which I'm not a fan of, because then it doesn't let me sleep comfortably. And I'm sure that we all go through the same motion. But guess what? It is very important, the power of family. Ben Adam לחברו, and Ben Adam לעצמו. He's talking about a very interesting concept. It means discipline and self-control, restraint. But there is one element of Gevura that is connected to another person. It's you and someone else. Who that someone else could be? Could be anyone. Could be your spouse, could be your child, could be your student, could be your friend. And the topic that we're going to develop now, very quickly, it's the topic of rebuking someone. So we already know that the word rebuke basically is in Hebrew tohacha, reprochar or recriminar in Spanish, is one of the most difficult mitzvot of the Torah to fulfill. Not everyone should rebuke people, and not every time you should rebuke. There is a time, as the Gemara says, to say something that will be heard, but there is a mitzvah of not to say something that will not be heard. So it says, if you made all your due diligence and you came up to the decision that you need to say something to a child, or you need to say something to your partner, or you need to say something to your employee or a friend, don't do it with satisfaction. There are people that when they rebuke or they criticize, they do it with one intention: how to put the person down, how to prove that person that I am better for them. I don't want to be in that person's shoes if that's the idea when it comes to criticism. One thing is to educate, but even when it comes to educate, you don't have to say you're doing it wrong, you don't know what you're doing. All these words are dangerous. So he said, we're going to review, let's say, from a rabbinical perspective, we're going to review today the laws of XYZ. And you put it in a way, hopefully, that the kahal or the audience will understand and will hopefully compare notes to the way it was done and the way it needs to be done. Now, a virtual question that just popped up here. The wife. That's a dangerous situation. Thank you so much. You took the words out of my mouth. It's a recipe for disaster. According to our holy books of Shalom Bayit, they said that criticism in a marriage, not only that it doesn't help, but it causes pain and suffering and has the capability of destroying a marriage. So someone may ask, so Rabbi, you cannot say anything to your wife? Definitely, the less you say to your wife, the better. Right?
No choice.
Thank you. Everybody seems to be on the same boat. Anyways.
At least the married ones.
Yes, Baruch Hashem. Everybody's happily married in this room, thank God. The Pasuk already says it. Adam, kol amal ha'adam lefihu. All the toiling of the person in this world is their mouth. But thank you so much. Shlomo HaMelech came to the same conclusion. David HaMelech came to the same conclusion. The Torah came to the same conclusion. That if there is one area in life that a person needs to really invest, it's in the mouth. In the mouth. Okay? It's in the mouth. And guess what? You can have a wonderful business. But if the mouth is not there or is there in a negative way, it sends away the beracha. It brings down mahloket. It brings down animosity. It brings down disliking. But the mouth that the pasuk is referring is not only kashrut. Let's clarify. Kashrut is only way in. The pasuk is referring to the way out. And that's where complaining comes into the arena. Criticizing, rebuking, foul language, deceitfulness, cursing, raising the voice, narcissistic type of behavior, condescending a person verbally. All these simple words that I said, they are all individually and collectively a recipe for disaster. So you know what he's saying here? That when you're going to have the courage and you make your due intellectual and spiritual diligence of saying, you know what? I'm going to say something to this person. It needs to be made out of love and not to pick on the person or not to give an iota of a feeling that you are deriving satisfaction by criticizing. because they are people. And unfortunately, I come across occasionally this type of personality, especially in the Shalom Bayit situations, challenges, dramas, issues, whatever you want to call it, that it maybe in the beginning their messages were well intended, but as the days and years go by, it becomes with such an animosity and disdain that it brings the collapsing of the holy sanctity that marriage brings upon the person. That is the message of today, the idea of taking a step towards becoming a Tzaddik. Because why Yosef a Tzaddik? Going back to Yosef, our guest of honor today, with his Avinu. Why Yosef was called Tzaddik? We don't say Abraham Tzaddik. We don't say Moshe Tzaddik. We don't even say Aharon Tzaddik. We don't say David Tzaddik. We don't say Shlomo Tzaddik. But what do we say? Yosef a Tzaddik. You know why Yosef a Tzaddik was called Tzaddik? Because he went against nature. The natural ending of the story of Yosef in Egypt should have been that he will have fallen spiritually and get married to Potiphar's perhaps wife or anybody in Egypt, and that would have been the end of the life of Yosef, and we need to go one more round to the 12 tribes of Israel. But Baruch Hashem, Yosef's sacrifice is what keeps us alive today. And I said this in one of the classes, when David HaMelech writes in the book of Tehillim, Bnei Yaakov, we are all called sons of Yaakov, but we are also called sons of Yosef. I understand why we are called sons of Yaakov. Since Yaakov Avinu was the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, and every one of us comes from a different tribe, so okay, my grandfather was Yaakov Avinu. But what about Yosef? Yosef was one of the tribes. You know what Yosef represents? The survival of the Jewish people in Galut. You know, yesterday was Yom HaShoah, correct? I think next week we're going to have Wednesday, Yom HaZikaron, the day that we commemorate, right, the passing of the Jewish soldiers in Israel through the war, through the history, modern day history. And the next day, it's Yom HaAtzmaut, celebration of Independence Day. Regretfully, I'm not going to be in town next week. I'm going to be Sunday, Monday, but I must take care of something personal, 3 days. But B'ezrat Hashem, I'll be back before Shabbat. No, we don't. You can say Hallel after prayers by yourself without beracha. That is our tradition. We sing the prayer and we say Yehi Shem. But since we're not allowed to add to the prayer, whoever wants to say Hallel afterwards without beracha, feel free to do so. Anyways, but it's not part of the nusach of the prayer. You know, the word ghetto, the ghetto of Varsovia, the ghetto of Lodz. Today, in our generation, there is such a word ghetto, right? If you don't know it, it's fine. But I know it, right? There is such a word? Okay? Beautiful. So that word originates from where? From the time of the Holocaust. And before perhaps, which is the area where the Yehudim live all together. Mamash. In Venice, correct, the Jewish ghetto of Venice in Italy. Beautiful, excellent point. So there was a ghetto in Europe, in Poland, I think. The ghetto of Lodz, L-O-D-Z, or Lodz, in which unfortunately every Yehudi who lived there, if not most of them, they were executed, killed. And when they started the conquering, they entered into the ghetto of Lodz. And every day, they would execute certain amount of Yehudim. And there was a rabbi in the ghetto. And the rabbi at a Pesach is preparing for the Seder. Is preparing for the Seder of Pesach. And what happens? One second. David. And what happens? They said to him, Hacham, the Nazis are entering the main door of the ghetto. Let's do something. How are you going to do the Seder? They're going to see you doing the Seder. They're going to kill you more. You know what the great rabbi says? They may kill my body, but they will never kill my spirit. My neshama remains alive. I'm giving you the very short version, because I'm sure if you read the full version, you're going to start crying. Because you understand, you don't understand. We understand, but we don't understand. How people sang and walked. A rabbi from Europe that came to America broke out when he was in America. He says, I need to go back. For what? So one Jew dies, stay here. He says, what about all my students in the yeshiva? He went to the concentration. The students. This is the sacrifice of Am Israel. And that's why the Pasuk says, Bnei Yaakov be Yosef. Every one of us has a free DNA of what Yosef represents. Discipline, personal holiness, tikkun hayesod, and what? The word Yosef, as I said not long ago, means to increase. One step at a time. One step at a time. One step at a time. So, B'ezrat Hashem, sooner or later, we're going to go back and say to yourself, Baruch Hashem, the changes that I was able to achieve. I'll share with you a personal story. And I was the eyewitness of the story. So therefore, it comes from first source. Story happened in Miami Beach 20 years ago, maybe 21, 22 years ago. There was a family that immigrated from Argentina. And, you know, they tried to settle, paperwork in order, puts the kids in school. Hashem, everything was beautiful. But now you need to bring parnasa. The cost of living in the United States, it's a bit higher than what it is in different places of the world. To make a long story short, this fellow approaches me and he says, you know what? I'm a good salesman. That's what he tells me. Okay, I said, very good. What can you sell? He says, whatever you give me to sell, I sell. I said, okay, let me make an announcement in the synagogue. If anybody needs a salesperson that is bilingual, Spanish and English, reliable, trustworthy, let me know. I explained to him that as a salesman, maybe he's right. I'm willing to do the sacrifice. 48 hours later, somebody approaches me. It says, Rabbi, this fellow apparently was a visitor, not someone from the Kehillah, somebody from out of town that happened to be in shul when I made that announcement. And he says, I'm looking for a representative of my company in Miami Beach, Surfside, you know, the neighborhood. I said, beautiful, what do you do? What do you sell? He tells me, ladies' clothing. Okay, in my rabbinical mind, when they tell me ladies' clothing, what do I think? Long sleeve. Shirt, skirts, you know, Tamim. Right? Wait. I said to him, okay, give me your number. Meet in the lobby line of clothing I sell. Go see some of our existing customers and go see new customers. Pay 6 hours. I said, what happened with the guy that you talked to? He says, Rabbi, the line very good. Visiting his existing beach, even though the clothing in a kosher environment. When a person, the happy ending of the story was that when a person does something to sacrifice nasa, livelihood, or spiritual, in order to accommodate the rules and the concepts that the Torah teaches us, you took a step forward towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Allah forward towards us. The happy ending of the story was that a few days later, someone came back from out of town and heard the story, and he says, I want a guy for my company. If this is the type of fellow that he is, I'm paying him full salary, no commission, but I want him to work for me in the company, from the office. And Baruch Hashem, the rest is history. He did very well, Baruch Hashem, and we're in contact till today. So there is an element of Mesirut Nefesh. The easiest thing is to do is to throw in the towel. So Rabbi, we'll finish this class, but we are announcing Rosh Chodesh. Be'ezrat Hashem, Rosh Chodesh will be Sunday and Monday. So Be'ezrat Hashem, Beli Neder, we have a special class on Sunday to introduce this month to the Kahal, and we'll cover also the days of Sefirat HaOmer. Baruch Adonai